Conclusion. These explanations are written for the unbelievers who do not consider Sudrakusti to be mandatory a lot for the Zarathustris in order to progress on the path of the Shah. Sudrakusti are constant reminders of one's own mind, restraining it from succumbing to the inherent angramentu lurking inside the dull mentalities. For the believers, this explanation is not necessary. Faith, devotion, and obedience are their boon, together with their spiritual benefit they receive by wearing Sudrakusti throughout their lives. Dadistan e Danik SBE, Volume 18, page 133, states that in order to follow the commands of the religion, it is essential to wear Sudrakusti, recite the proper mantra, and have faith in the scriptures. The Gathas do not mention the word Sudrakusti, but they refer to them as spiritual garments of the divine Ster Heshangam, heavenly garment, or Eyangyana, spiritual belt. Without Sudrakusti, there can be no communication with the divine, as consciousness transfers itself on different levels of spirituality from one Kash, spiritual boundary, to another. Since the spiritual and physical are interconnected, Sudrakusti are that essential Kash, serving as a link to establish communion between us and our Mazda, between the physical and the spiritual, through each of the 9 graded components that constitute the universe and man. It is important to note that the Sudrakusti are not merely an ordinary garment or shirt and belt worn by all humanity. Both the Sudrakusti are designed in a specific way with the Yerdu, Yereban, specific numbers, etc. and worn by all Mazda Yaznis Artushtis after the performance of Naujo, preferably at the age of 7, at which time the mind begins to engage in active individual thinking. Only under unusual circumstances the ritual of Naujo is postponed, but it definitely must be performed before age 15. The references and quotations are included from the Pahlavi texts to establish that during the worst days the Zarathushtis faced after the downfall of Shasani in Iran, they continued to honor Naujo and Sudrakusti as mandatory in spite of the latter's identity and threat. Zarathushtis in Iran found it preferable to seal their faith in blood than discard their spiritual alat. The last Sasanian king, Yazdegerd III, was killed because he was identified by his Sudrakusti and for taking Baj before a mill. Even at the cost of being killed, he faithfully adhered to the tenets of his religion. It is not an irony that today, when we enjoy religious freedom, we are desecrating the very alat of our ancestors died for. While our ancestors referred to the Sudrakusti as alat, as a spiritual garment's replica of the heavens, we are calling the same as outer symbols and unnecessary. The Sudrakusti are only outer symbols. Would the scriptures specify the sutras as innermost and concealed? Have we become so profane that we do not believe in the revealed word, scriptures, anymore, and consider ourselves free to choose to do whatever we think is convenient and suitable to leading a materialistic lifestyle, even when that lifestyle is religiously untenable? And in former days, if anyone should have become completely 15 years of age and should not have worn the sacred thread girdle, they would have done for him by stoning, as bread and water are forbidden haram for him, such as the dedication to religion. Conversely, today, in the name of so-called freedom of choice, Zarathushtis discard the Sudrakusti for various reasons, be it personal choice, fashion, or convenience. It needs to be emphasized that freedom does not mean freedom from the spiritual links that bind Ahura Mazda and his creation into this stupendous whole. Freedom does not imply that a disciple freely chooses his personal preferences over the spiritual disciplines and tenets revealed by the prophet. A devotee of the follower necessarily submits himself willingly to the religious way of life injuncted by the prophet. Freedom of choice is an incentive to choose right actions, which for the Zarathushtis prescribe the necessity of wearing Sudrakusti throughout the lifetime and even unto death. At night, when they lay down, the shirt and girdle are to be worn, for they are more protecting for the body, good for the soul. When thou risest up from the bedclothes, it is necessary to tie the sacred girdle thread again at the same place, and it is not desirable to put forth a step without the girdle. Irrefutably, the Pahlavi texts, as well as the Avesta proclaimed that it is mandatory to wear Sidrakusti at all times throughout life. One cannot put these on and off at will to suit fashion or convenience, because by so doing, the spiritual connection between the individual and the Asho Zarathustra and divinity is weakened and severed. Sidrakusti are akin to spiritual dynamo that works incessantly for the benefit of the soul of a Zarathustri. In Divinidad, Fargard 18, it is stated that when Asho Zarathustra asked Ahura Mazda what makes the power of death increase, the answer was teaching the wrong law of not wearing the sacred girdle Kusti over the spiritual garment Sudra. Through all our religious texts, the fact emerges, and indisputably our ancestors considered Sudra Kusti as mandatory, and to be without the sacred vestment and girdling was looked upon as committing spiritual sin. Patit Peshmani describes Koshad Darashni as the sin of abandoning Sudra Kusti. Bundihishan, chapter 25, declares the business of the demon Andar is that he constrains the thoughts of the creatures from deeds of virtue, and he casts this into the thoughts of men, that it is not necessary to have the sacred shirt and thread girdle. Very astutely, the word demon is employed to suggest that apostasy or disobedience to religious laws is the work of Angramanyu. The archdemon, Angramanyu, is the personification of spiritual ignorance. Therefore, wisely, all vices are said to stem from this archdemon. Other demons are also named and described, and the demon Noikias is said to stifle faith and loyalty to religion. It is Sudra Kusti, which are the Zarathustri's identity and link with the Ahura Mazda, Asho, Zarathustra, and the community, as they are essential to any prayers, rituals, and Hamazor. They are mandated. Those who refuse to obey thereby choose to relinquish the privilege of being identified as Mazda Yazni Zarathustri. They sever the link with the community, Asho, Zarathustra, and Ahura Mazda of their own choosing. Please let us honor and safeguard our spiritual inheritance. Good and evil will survive as long as our material world and spiritual universes coexist. It is our choice whether to promote faith, dedication, obedience, and other virtues, or to give it to vices arising out of spiritual ignorance. Those who obey the commands of their religion will remain Vaste Kushtian. By keeping the link with divinity, Asho, Zarathustra, and the community, unending and inexhaustible, those who are ignorant of spirituality and lack faith will fall victims to doubt and disobedience that will inevitably lead to their spiritual destruction. May spiritual wisdom prevail. Hata Zamya Yata Fernami. May it be so, is my sincere prayer. Bibliography, West EW, Sacred Books of the East, Volume 5, Edition F. Max Muller, Motilal, Bonar Cetus, Delhi, 1987. West EW, Sacred Books of the East, Volume 18, ED F. Max Muller, Motilal, Banar Siddhas, Delhi, 1994. West EW, Sacred Books of the East, Volume 24, ED F. Max Muller, Motilal, Banar Siddhas, Delhi, 1987. West EW, Sacred Books of the East, Volume 37, Edition F. Max Muller, Motilal, Banar Siddhas, Delhi, 1988.